So a lot of you know, I'm not really using Twitter right now. I kind of quit the other day in a rage of just reaching peak frustration with the epic amount of stupid nonsense on Twitter every single day. It's honestly like the most toxic thing. And I actually have always hated Twitter. Before I kind of got thrust into doing this stuff, I actually barely used Twitter. I hated it before. I used to have someone doing it for me, but they sucked. And so I had to start doing it myself again, but I've always hated it. And I'm taking a little bit of a break. Now, you might see me posting on Twitter, but really, if you look at what I'm posting stuff I'm sharing things from my locals. I'm sharing things from my Instagram. It's not actually on Twitter. I'm not looking at, I'm sorry if you're responding to things I'm saying on Twitter. I'm not really looking at your responses. If you want to interact with me, your best bet is to join my locals community, which is the link right below me right there, kb.locals.com. That is the very best place to interact with me. And where I will be spending my time now that I'm not getting sucked into the Twitter cesspool of nonsense and ridiculousness and stupidity and angst and all those other things that I really just don't think I need. But that's not to say that I'm not keeping an eye on the things that some people are posting on Twitter, because frankly, like, Twitter is just one of the fastest places to get news. And so I do have a list of people that I'm keeping an eye on what they're posting. Dave Rubin's on that list. Jack Posobiec's on that list. Tracy Beans is on that list. There are a whole bunch of people on the list. And I thought, it was kind of funny. Yesterday, I popped on and I saw this from Dave Rubin. This is incredible. 2 weeks before the election, Twitter changed how you retweet because they obviously didn't want certain things to go viral. Now that they got the result they want, they're going back to the old ways. Big tech is manipulating us in ways we can't imagine. And what he did is he had this screenshot from Twitter. You'll see this first one they sent on October 21st, 2020. Hey everyone, we made a temporary change to the retweet function. When you hit the retweet button, you can either add a comment to quote the tweet or leave it blank and hit the retweet button. I remember when they made this change. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. If I was actually still using Twitter, I'd be delighted it switched back, but we all know that they're switching it back for nefarious reasons, so perhaps I shouldn't be delighted at all. They updated this yesterday to say, we're switching back. You can now choose retweet or quote tweet the way you did before. It didn't click with me when they made this change that this was a temporary change. Why are we making a temporary change right before the election? Just so happens to be coinciding with the Hunter Biden laptop scandal news breaking that, of course, Twitter suppressed as well, barred the New York Post, one of the biggest newspapers in the country, from posting on their platform for days and days and days. And now that the election is over, of course, we all know that everything that the New York Post said was true. They were reporting was completely accurate, and now every other news outlet is reporting it now that the election is over. But that's not the only interesting thing I saw about Twitter. This morning from Jack Posobiec, he posted a screenshot, this one of Aaron here posting this video of Rand Paul, and this one of Jack Posobiec posting exactly the same video of Rand Paul. Can you see the difference between these two tweets? Well, it appears that Jack Posobiec's has an election fraud trigger warning, right? Trigger warning when it comes to Twitter, right? But more of like a fact check available. And this one from Aaron does not have a fact check available. What Jack said about that, literally the exact same video, but Twitter doesn't fact check liberal accounts when they post it. You've got Ron Coleman, lawyer extraordinaire, right down here. I think I'll hold on to this one for later. So hopefully Ron is planning on going after them at some point. I cannot wait until people start suing Twitter. I think that, what Dave Rubin has been talking about in his tweets lately is that the bannings are going to start as soon as the inauguration is over. The mass bannings are going to start as soon as the inauguration is over. And a lot of people are starting to agree with that. Here's this article from The Independent. Twitter confirms Trump can be banned from Inauguration Day onward. So listen, my little break from Twitter is I really want to lay low up until definitely after the holidays, probably until after Inauguration Day. And then I was thinking, maybe I'll tiptoe back into Twitter after Inauguration Day. People are going to be calming down. They're going to be not as angsty as they have been. Maybe it'll lighten up on the anger and the outrage and all the nonsense. I don't even know if I'm gonna have that option anymore. I mean, we'll see. But this is why, guys, if you're not on Parler, please get on Parler. A lot of you always tell me, you leave like comments saying, Carlin, get on Parler, get on Parler. Dude, look right below me in this video. Look literally right below me. Right below me in this video is my locals information, my Gab information, my Minds information, and my Parler information. I just added Cloud Hub to that as well. But really, the biggest two that I'm using right now are locals and Parler. So hope you'll join me on one and or both of them. We've got to start building up Parler as an alternate platform because Twitter is just out of control. They're going to be banning a lot of people. I totally agree with Dave Rubin the day after the election day. Let's read this story from The Independent. Donald Trump, who currently enjoys certain exemptions from Twitter's policies due to his status as a world leader, will likely lose the protection after January 20th as Joe Biden takes over as president of the U.S. And I'm not commenting on whether or not that's true. You guys know my position on this, but I have to say it in every flipping video, otherwise you'll yell at me in the comments. I am not saying either way what I think is going to happen. I am neutral. I am letting the process play out. I don't even care anymore. Whatever will be, will be. Mr. Trump's personal Twitter account could be subject to a ban if he continues to spread conspiracy theories. Twitter confirms. You want to know what would put Twitter out of business incredibly quickly? If Donald Trump told them to go screw and just joined Parler, because Trump's fans would leave. There would be like a mass exodus of Twitter. There would be absolutely no point in being on the platform anymore for a lot of people. He could do this in one fell swoop, and frankly, I hope that Twitter actually does ban Donald Trump, because that would be the literal downfall of the company. Listen, before Trump started getting really popular on Twitter, and this was back like 2015 into 2016, Twitter was failing as a company. Twitter was failing. Twitter has never been a viable company in terms of the business until Donald Trump became really popular on Twitter, and then everything started going great. So the minute that Trump loses, and I think that Twitter might actually be smart enough to know this, but who the heck knows? The minute that Trump is either banned or leaves Twitter, Twitter is about to have some big business problems, and I am living for it. I would love nothing more than the death of this cursed platform, and I genuinely mean it. Since the days after November 3rd elections, it became clear that Mr. Biden was leading the race and set to be the next president. Mr. Trump has been using Twitter to peddle voter fraud conspiracy theories without proof. Well, of course, there's a lot of proof, as we know, but I'm not allowed to talk about that in this video because YouTube is also a censorship Nazi company as well. As a result of his many tweets related to the election results appear with the label, "This claim about election fraud is disputed," even when they have received millions of interactions on the platform. And as we can see, Twitter does not always apply that label equally. These tweets are not banned outright, as his account is currently covered under the platform's World Leaders on Twitter's Principles and Approach Guidelines, according to which the company allows tweets that break its rules to stay up if there is a clear public interest value in them. However, they may place it behind a notice that provides context around the violation according to Twitter's rules. Another thing that Twitter's been doing is disabling the ability for you to like Trump's tweets or retweet Trump's tweets. They never do this on the left. By the way, they never, ever, ever do this crap on the left. It is always only in one direction. This may change for Mr. Trump after January 20th when he becomes a private citizen. Posts that, if he continues to post such tweets, it could lead to an eventual ban from the platform. Please, Twitter. Please ban Trump from your platform. Please, 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 please. Ban Trump from your platform. Please do it. It will be the start of your downfall. I actually think their downfall's actually probably already started, but it will accelerate the downfall. A Twitter spokesperson told Forbes that after January 20th, the former president will have to follow the same guidelines as regular citizens. The spokesperson said the platform does not have special rules for Mr. Trump. Well, except every time they censor him and no one else. Mr. Trump, meanwhile, has been seeking a repeal of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which, among other things, protects social media platforms from liability for content its users post. Wouldn't it be funny if, let's just pause it for a second. Trump leaves office, and the very first thing he does is he goes after Twitter for this nonsense. The very first thing he does is start a massive, massive class action lawsuit against Twitter. I'm not a lawyer, but I feel like Trump could probably figure this out. Oh my God, it would be beautiful. It would be delicious. It would be amazing. Mr. Trump has a following of 88.6 million, is among Twitter's top 10 accounts. Among politicians, he is only behind former President Barack Obama, who has 125 million followers. In comparison, the official Twitter account of the US president, POTUS, has 33.1 million followers. Twitter has already announced that it would hand over the POTUS handle to Mr. Biden on January 20th, even if Trump refuses to concede. It'll be really interesting. You know, there's supposed to be a report coming out tomorrow, Friday the 18th, or it might actually be delayed now, but Trump's executive order that he signed a couple of years ago basically ordered that 45 days after the election, the DNI has to produce a report about whether or not there's foreign interference in the election. 45 days is tomorrow. The DNI just announced that it's probably going to be delayed because they're still figuring some stuff out. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this. I don't know this as well as some people, but there have been mutterings in the past couple days that they're actually saying that they have evidence that China interfered in the election. So we'll see. Twitter might be in for a rude awakening, and I'd be living for it if that's what happens. During his tenure and even during campaigning for the 2016 elections, Mr. Trump has used Twitter to bypass traditional media platforms, many of whom he claims are against him, well, that's actually provable, to reach out to his supporters. Mr. Trump's tweets, leading to many controversies, even prompted Mr. Biden during the campaign to tweet in July, "You won't have to worry about my tweets when I'm president." Well, that's true, Joe, because you won't even be the one sending your tweets. You barely freaking lucid. Mr. Trump used Twitter's exemption policy throughout 2020 to spread disputed theories about COVID-19 and also the Black Lives Matter protest without the fear of the permanent ban of the platform. What conspiracy theories did Trump spread about Black Lives Matter? He was retweeting videos of literal things that were happening. Twitter has several measures to deal with those who violate its rules, including limiting a tweet's reach and placing temporary restrictions on an account. Yes, you are right, independent. That seems to be the end of the article. Twitter is a completely Orwellian platform, and I hope Trump leaves or gets banned, and I hope he sues the pants off them when it happens. All right, guys. That's all I've got from this video. If you enjoyed this content, I do daily content around news, politics, culture, really any topic that I happen to find interesting and intriguing. So I hope you find some of them interesting and intriguing as well. If you want to help me out, help me grow the channel, please consider subscribing down below. That little red subscribe button. Share it out with your friends and family members. Give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, all those good things. I really appreciate it. That's all I've got for right now. I'll see you soon.